My name is Austin Merrill with the Pulitzer Center on Crisis Reporting. And along with photographer Peter DiCampo, we did a project called Ivory Coast, Justice, Cocoa, and the Road to Reconciliation. We were in the country for a couple of weeks to look at the way that politics and the cocoa industry in Ivory Coast are sort of married in the recent history of conflict in the country. I have a long history in Ivory Coast. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in the mid-90s and then covered the beginning of the Ivorian Civil War with the Associated Press. And have been back several times to cover various political and cultural stories since then. Peter also has spent some time in Ivory Coast and covered some of the post-election conflict in early 2011. We went back this time to see how the country was moving forward, if the country was moving forward, and how the cocoa industry might be either contributing to reconciliation or to the continued unrest. One of the things we were hoping to do was to go to Ivory Coast and report on a place that was really moving towards reconciliation, that was really finding a way around its recent troubles and moving on towards a place that was what it used to be when it was considered the miracle of Africa. Unfortunately, what we found instead was a place that's still dealing with its recent troubles in a very painful way, and some of the unrest is continuing. We visited a village called Zibablu Yeblu that had been attacked just a couple of weeks before we arrived by attackers that no one was really sure who these people were. But it was clear that it was related to the conflict, and it was clear that this was something that was very painful for the locals, and they didn't know how to move forward. All of their food stock that they had stored up for the coming year had been destroyed, their homes had been burned down, etc. And that combined with another place we visited, Niambli, where on one side of the street, the immigrant side of the street, you see homes that have been rebuilt, that have been refurbished, and that side of the community is sort of going on with their lives. The side of the street where the locals live still is more or less in rubble, and they haven't quite figured out how to sort of carry on with life post-conflict. We went to what was pitched as a reconciliation ceremony outside of Douekwe. And at this ceremony, it was supposed to be a time when religious leaders, political leaders, and members of the community came together to put to rest some of their troubles and put to rest some of the things that they've been fighting about for so long. Instead, what we found were really basically empty seats. A lot of those officials did show up. Some international organizations showed up. Not many locals, not many community members, not many people who lived there and experienced the war firsthand in the most painful way, not many of them showed up. And I spoke to some of them on the outskirts of the ceremony, people who did not want to come and sit close enough to actually participate in the event, and they told me point blank that they didn't really want any part in this reconciliation, that the wounds were still too fresh, the pain was still too great, and they didn't have any interest in repairing what had happened and trying to move on. I think it's an underreported story. It's something that's going to live on for some time, and since it's the largest cocoa producer in the world, and cocoa goes into making chocolate and is something that we all consume here in the West, it seems like it's a story that ought to have more traction in the Western press, but doesn't. And we're hoping that our work maybe can contribute toward more people paying attention in that way.